that sort of 100 nanomoles, we're storing, we're not getting rid of the excess.
As long as you're checking everything else and the kidney function is good. Said, if you decide you want to do something like that and you've got a kidney-related autoimmune disease like vitamin D with very, very, very... Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Kidney Coach YouTube channel. I am Fiona, naturopath and co-founder of the Kidney Disease Solution and Kidney Coach. And today I'm joined by the wonderfully talented and beautiful Emily Cahill. So, Em, do you want to, maybe we'll start with a bit of an overview of what vitamin D is, because the word itself saying vitamin D, but it's not a vitamin.
That's
so,
right.
Yes, maybe we'll start there and go forth.
Yeah, so vitamin D isn't actually a vitamin at all. It's actually what's called a prohormone. So what that is it's a nutrient that gets converted into a hormone in the body. It's also fat soluble, which means it's stored in our fat cells in the body. And we primarily get it from 3 different places. So we get a little bit from food, although there's not many foods that have very high amounts of vitamin D. So for most people, they're going to get the majority of their vitamin D from the sun. When our skin's exposed to the sun, the UV rays is converted from cholesterol into vitamin D, which is a whole sort of process that has a number of different steps in the body. And then the third place is from supplements. So people who supplement with vitamin D, that's sort of the third main source. Most of the research sort of agrees that definitely needs to be, now when I talk about optimum levels, it, depending on where you live, will depend on the, what do you call it? The reference range and what it's being, I guess, counted. So, say in Australia, we look at vitamin D as in nanomoles. And then in the US, it gets looked at in nanograms. So the numbers are quite different. So just to avoid any confusion. But I guess, most agreed upon level is it certainly needs to be above 75 nanomoles, which is about 30 nanograms. And really, I think for it to have its best effect in the body, we want it to be above, that sort of 100 nanomoles. And which I think 100 is around, is it about 60 nanograms,
yeah,
maybe?
Range is, it's what, 30?
45 maybe. Yeah, so again, that's something that sort of is still being researched and looked into. So, if I had someone who had say elevated phosphorus and, maybe their calcium was a little bit out, I might be a bit more conservative in how high I want their vitamin D to be. But certainly, generally speaking, above that sort of 100 mark. Most of the research shows, and again, it's not looking at its effect on things like calcium and phosphorus, but that, toxic levels of vitamin, you don't sort of get into vitamin D toxicity until, you're in this sort of couple of hundred nanomole and higher. So, there is sort of a bit of a range there, but remembering that vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. So unlike, say, something, if you're taking vitamin C or some B vitamins, if we, are taking sort of more than we need, then we will just excrete it. With vitamin D, we won't. We'll store it in our body. And that's why it can potentially become toxic because, we're storing, we're not getting rid of the excess.
Yeah. And I know, look, in autoimmune diseases, there's something called the Coimbra protocol. I don't know if you've come across that yet, where they use zero dosing of vitamin D. So they're using anywhere from 50,000 to 250,000 IU per day. And they have amazing results with treating people like, and I know about it because they use it mostly in things like MS or ulcerative colitis. They use it in Parkinson's, motor neuron. But most of them are MS patients because of the research. And there's been some amazing papers coming out. And if you follow the Coimbra pages, people are their disease becomes completely stable and those sort of things. And so I am on a Coimbra type protocol, and my vitamin D levels sit over 700. So I'm in what you would call toxic range. And what we have to do is exactly as you're saying, my parathyroid and my calcium excretion and everything gets checked, and they don't look at the vitamin D. They look at that, and that's what tells them whether you've taken too much. And so as long as your creatinine clearance and things like that, so as long as all your kidney function and your parathyroid's not being knocked out, you can actually tell how well the vitamin D has been absorbed, everything that Emily said, which is why we have to do all these other tests. Those other tests give you all that information, and that's how we check all of that stuff, by running those other tests. So I have lots of patients sitting in what their doctors freak out about as toxic vitamin D. As long as you're checking everything else and their kidney function is good, then they have no issues. So yeah, it's fascinating. And I know with Australian lifeguards, they measured them, and it was naturally through the summer. They get in excess of 800 nanomoles during summer with no toxicity. So I do think you can push it pretty high. That being said, if you decide you want to do something like that and you've got a kidney-related autoimmune disease like IgA nephropathy and you want to try vitamin D, please work with a qualified Coimbra practitioner. You have to know what you're looking at there. So I digress, but I just wanted to go over that there are some treatments that use these massive hero dosings of vitamin D with very, very, very good effects. So, vitamin D is so powerful and really quite therapeutic, especially in these quite serious autoimmune diseases. Thanks, Emily. So if you've liked this episode from The Kidney Coach, make sure you hit like and subscribe. If you put any comments down below, I will get back to you. I check that most days. If there's any videos you want Emily and I to make, any topics that you really want to know about when it comes to kidney disease, definitely let us know. We're always after any extra great ideas, because otherwise Emily and I sit and rack our brains about what you guys would like to hear. Thanks again, Emily. I always appreciate your time. And until next time, be well, stay well. And if you need any more information, head over to www.kidneycoach.com. There's lots of great articles on there. And there is one on vitamin D. I'll put the link below. All right. Till next time. Bye.
Bye.